Hi, students and family members, it's Mr. Panza as we dive into more figurative language and utilizing and using this figurative language to make our writing pop. Now we're going to start with Lesson 1, Onomatopeia. Onomatopeia is something that you can and should understand and start using in your writing. Here's a couple of definitions to let you know exactly what it is and how you can use it. Onomatopeia is when authors, anybody that's writing, whether it be a book, or a comic strip, or a poem, and they use words that sound like the action or object that they're naming. An example might be the word buzz. The buzz could be used to describe the bee or the sound that the bee makes. The word splat is a second example of onomatopoeia, and that's because it may be used to describe the sound of a scoop of ice cream falling on the floor. These are just two examples of many words that are onomatopoeia. Here are many more examples. Consider these and think, can you add any more to this list? Slurp, pow, boink, beep, splat, screech, kerplunk, prrr, hiss, bang, zip, bam, swoosh, woof, and poof are all examples of words that sound like what they are describing. They're onomatopoeia. They can be used throughout, and we've seen lots of different authors use onomatopoeia to make their words jump off the pages in many different forms of writing. Specifically, we've seen this more recently in graphic novels, but originally in comic strips. Let's take a look at a couple of examples. First, we have a classic. This is Peanuts, Charlie Brown and Snoopy. Let me make it a little bit bigger, although it may get a little pixelated. And poof, I used onomatopoeia to create a bigger picture. You can see that Charlie is saying what a drag, grabbing some food from the cabinet. Then he's repeating, feed the dog, feed the dog, feed the dog, day after day, day in, day out, week after week, year after year as he sets up the dog food and water bowl. And you don't even get any thanks. Now you've got Snoopy who looks excited that the food is coming, grabs the food, and rather than eating the food first, we've got two perfectly poignant examples of onomatopoeia. Snoopy hugging Charlie Brown and giving a warm affection. This looks like how it would sound. And kissing Charlie's hand, looking like how it would sound, a nice old smackaroo on the hand. And then Charlie turns and walks away and says, well, most of the time you don't. Let's take a look at a second example. Pop. You can see I used onomatopoeia to show the next example. Garfield. You have his owner singing and drawing himself a bath. Then he's saying to himself, there's nothing like a bubble bath to cure what is ailing you. Right, Garfield? And Garfield is calmly popping all of these little bubbles. An example of onomatopoeia. The bubbles are popping. When they pop, that sounds like what we're describing. Now we have a huge bubble. Garfield looks excited, gets ready, and pow! Right there is your example of onomatopoeia. Then we have Garfield and the owner that end up in the hospital. On the following pages, you'll have an opportunity to look at a poem that has plenty of onomatopoeia, and then you're also going to have an opportunity to try and write some descriptive words of onomatopoeia. So this is your opportunity to take what you know and tell a story to make sure that you are using these grabbing figurative languages. The first one looks like this, and I'd like you to glance at the poem, pause the video, and see if you can't find specific examples of onomatopoeia within this poem. In fact, at the end of this video, I'd like you to write down the total number of examples of onomatopoeia you see, and then we'll check it. Here's the first half. Pause it now. Write down your number. And the second half, we've doubled up on this line here, but the second half, pause it now and write down your number. Finally, I'd like you to look at this worksheet, which you can also print here at Mr. Panza's website. They give you pictures, and they want you to write an onomatopoeia example that would go with each of these pictures. A ringing clock, a cow that moves, a race car zooming, and a man that's about to splash. They have more examples as you scroll down the page. Use this time to think about some examples of onomatopoeia that would work on these lines before you practice it in the worksheet. Thanks, and I hope this video introduced you to how to use onomatopoeia.